Welcome back to the questions based on jurisprudence. The first question: which was the first specialist administrative court? The Council d'État in France, established in 1799. What does election law regulate? It regulates voting rights, voter registration, ballot access, campaign finance, electoral fraud, and other election-related matters. What is the function of election commissions and councils? They facilitate elections and resolve election-related disputes. What are strict liability crimes? Crimes where only actus reus or the act is sufficient for guilt without requiring mens rea or intent. Which economist is considered the most prominent analyst of law and economics? Ronald Coase. What was the main argument in Ronald Coase's article, The Nature of the Firm, 1937? Firms exist due to transaction costs, making corporations more cost-effective for production compared to individual transactions and open markets. What is the study of law and society called in the United States? Law and Society Studies. What does cost work, The Problem of Social Cost, 1960, argue? If there were no transaction cost, people would negotiate to allocate resources efficiently, regardless of court rulings. How is criminal law different from civil law? Criminal law deals with offenses against the state, whereas civil law deals with disputes between individuals. Give an example of a defense in criminal law: self-defense or insanity. What was the key issue in R.V. Dudley and Stephens? Whether necessity could justify murder and cannibalism for survival. Which school of thought in economics is associated with the advocacy for deregulation and privatization? The Chicago School. What is the stance of the Chicago School regarding state regulation? They are generally opposed to state regulation and favor free market operations. What is the equivalent term for law and society studies in Europe? Socio-legal studies. What does the sociology of law study? The interaction between law and society, including legal practices and social norms. What are the key areas of inquiry in the sociology of law? Social construction, social norms, and dispute proceedings and legal culture. What is the primary role of the police in criminal law? Investigating, apprehending, and charging suspected offenders. What is the International Criminal Court (ICC) responsible for? Trying people for crimes against humanity. What does pacta sunt servanda mean? Agreement must be kept. What are the three key elements of a contract in common law? Offer and acceptance, consideration, and an intention to create a legal relations. Which legal philosopher criticized the sociology of law and its early proponents? Kelsen. Who was one of the founders of sociology of law that Kelsen criticized? Eugene Ehrlich. What was Eugene Hallett's contribution to the sociology of law? He distinguished between positive law and social norms that regulate everyday life. Which sociologist developed a scientific approach to law around 1900? Max Weber. What did Max Weber identify as a key feature of modern legal systems? Legal rationality, where law derives authority from abstract norms rather than personal authority. According to Max Weber, what was the relationship between legal rationality and capitalism? Legal rationality developed alongside the growth of capitalism. What is consideration in contract law? Consideration means that each party must exchange something of value. What happens when a person lacks legal capacity to contract? The contract may be invalidated. What is the abstraction principle in a German contract law? It separates the contract's personal obligation from the transfer of property ownership. What is a tort? Tort is a civil wrong that results in legal liability. What was the key issue in Donko versus Stevenson? Whether a manufacturer owed a duty of care to a consumer who was not in a direct contract with them. What are the four elements of negligence? Duty of care, breach of duty, causation, and harm. What did Emile Durkheim argue about the evolution of law in complex societies? Civil law focused on restitution and compensation grows while criminal law and penal sanctions decline. Who are some of the notable early legal sociologists? Hugo Zinzheimer, Theodore Geiger, Georges Govich, Leon Petresky, and William Graham Sumner. What aspect of law did Emile Durkheim emphasize in the division of labor in society? The shift from punitive criminal laws to compensatory civil laws as societies become more complex. What is a nuisance claim? Nuisance claim is a claim against excessive noise or interference with property use. What is defamation? Publishing false statements that damage a person's reputation. What is an economic tort? A tort affecting business or labor relations, such as making trade unions liable for strikes. What is jurisprudence often described as? Jurisprudence is often described as the philosophy of law. What does jurisprudence seek to understand? It seeks to understand the nature, functions, and role of law in society. How does jurisprudence reflect on law beyond its technical aspects? It examines the moral, political, and social implications of legal systems. What are the main dimensions of jurisprudence? It is philosophical and theoretical, normative and descriptive, interdisciplinary and analytical. Why is jurisprudence considered a philosophical study? It engages with the deep theoretical questions about the nature of law, its sources, purpose, and authority. What are some abstract principles studied in jurisprudence? Legality, rights, duties, justice, and fairness. What is the difference between descriptive and normative jurisprudence? Descriptive jurisprudence explains how law functions, while normative jurisprudence explores what law ought to be. What are some disciplines that a jurisprudence draws from? Philosophy, political studies, sociology, economics, and history. What does sociological jurisprudence focus on? Sociological jurisprudence examines how law functions within society and shapes or reflects social order. What does political jurisprudence study? Political jurisprudence studies the relationship between law and political power. How does economic jurisprudence contribute to the study of law? Economic jurisprudence investigates the interaction between law and economic systems. What does analytical jurisprudence focus on? The examination of legal concepts, rules, and institutions. Which school of thought analyzes the nature of legal authority and its distinction from morality? Legal positivism. What is one of the main concerns of jurisprudence regarding the nature of law? It seeks to define what law is and explore its essential characteristics. What are the main schools of thought regarding the nature of law? Legal positivism, natural law, and legal realism.